All right, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, good night, good morning, whenever it is you tune in. Hope all is going well. Back again, around the same time where I thought I would be. Quite a number of things happened, so we can get to that later. But anyways, nice to join you guys here on this wonderful Saturday. I was helping some other people move, and then we had to move some other stuff around our house too, so that was kind of a hold up on my end. But yeah, how's it guys going? We are short a few people, as you can tell. Trey may not be here for a little bit. In a couple of weeks, he said he might be getting a new job, which will help with his schedule to join me here, because I want to try to be consistent for you guys and make sure that you guys know and can look forward to a specific time to join the show, right? So until we get there, it's just going to be me and maybe anyone else that I would have join me, which if you guys want to be a part of that, you can go ahead and let me know. I'll drop the link and we can have a discussion. But for right now, it's going to be the one-on-one Q&A style. Last one we'll do before the full-on review of the Falcons Steelers game. So let's take a look at who else is here with us. By the way, before I mention anything, for the few of you that are watching on AFN, you can either hop over to my channel. It's, like I said, it's just my name, or you can hop over to my Twitch, which is currently being broadcasted with as well. So, trying some new things, experimenting, because I have finally got good internet. So, we shouldn't be having a bunch of problems as far as my connection, and like if anything, our only problem should be scheduling. So, just to be on the safe side, glad to have you all here. Let's take a look and see who's here. We got that one Falcons fan. I see you to individualize yourself there. We got Bucks Rays Bolts. How's it going, fellow rival? We got Jarvis in the building. How's it going to you? We got D Coleman. Welcome, welcome. All right, our first question comes from that one Falcons fan. Who will lead the team in sacks this season? Interesting question. I was actually looking at a few clips of not only Grady Jarrett, because obviously we had his documentary of his 10 years being here, which is already like so weird to me, just the passage of time and how he never seems to age. Like I don't. I mean, I kind of understand that because black don't crack, but there's got to be something else to it, man. He's been really. He looks healthy, even though he's been injured. So it's good to see him do that, man. It's good to see him enjoy the season, because, man, the stuff he's been through, and the people he's helped along the way too, right? Including maybe some of you guys in the crowd right now. So Grady's always going to be a contestant, although I figure he would have the most amount of attention on that defensive line, giving way to someone else I've been paying attention to, which is either Zach Harrison. Although I think he's got a little bit of ways to go as far as him becoming a true pass rusher with all of the skill sets he needs. But if he could just manage to get off of his one-on-ones, which I think you can see a good amount of, then he's certainly in contention. You also got to think about our rookie, not Braylon Trice, but Ruka Rovero. I've been seeing him a little bit more in the preseason. I've been watching his Jaguars game, his Ravens game. Didn't really see too much of his Dolphins game, but he's got some good tape. And it's not just as a pass rusher. That was his biggest trait coming out of Clemson. Everyone knew that he was a good pass rusher, or that he had the tools to be one. But could he stop the run? Could he set the edge? Could he, play his role in any kind of spot on the D line in run support as well? And I think he's already been showing that. So I think he's also someone that can determine a lot of special packages for blitzes and make the offenses really have to double guess like who they have to block and who they have to focus on. Another person to mention, David Onyemata, right? Like he's also someone that can get after the quarterback. And the one person that I might say is my final answer is not planned, but body built by Taco Bell himself, Matthew Judon. I think if he plays a full season, it's absolutely going to be him. And I think that the reason being is everyone else, right? Like once you have that solid rotation and once everyone fits in their role, like that's all you need. You don't need anyone else to have like a super high sack number. You just need everyone to make sure that their assignments are correct. So Xavier Littman, good to see you. Can you put your channel link in the chat? I have it in the description. Looking at, unless you're looking at it on Twitch, which I don't think anyone's there. So yeah, I would say that I'm looking forward to having new subscribers. I'm looking forward to having a consistent schedule. Looking forward for more interactions between me and you guys. And one of the ways we can do that is not only having opportunities to join the stream in AFN, but I might be doing some more stuff that's outside of AFN that is just going to be on my channel. Like I said, I'm also exploring with stuff on Twitch. So trying to figure out how that works. I don't have everything set up right now, but my first time, you're not going to get it right away. How's it going, Eric Mack? Welcome to everybody else that's here. So yeah, my final answer for who leads the team in sacks is, barring any injuries, it should be Matthew Judon, no problem. I think he's going to go back to his final form of having 15 plus, which is such a relief to be able to say that regarding any Falcons pass rusher. So yeah. Whew. Well, since we're on this kind of discussion for sacks, how about we just go ahead and cancel the whole Twitch idea. Goodness, man. You guys see it. I don't have to say it. But breaking down O-line footwork would be something that I could probably do in the future, just not in the bathtub. I don't know, man. I do what the people demand. Right? Like, hey, you want me to eat Taco Bell? I'll eat Taco Bell right now. If you want me to have freaking mayo in my coffee, I'd had it already. If you want me to freaking, I don't know. I got this whole 64-ounce thing of Gatorade that I filled up with water earlier. Please don't do anything with that. But yeah, I'm all for it, man. You guys see me, have challenges and create punishments for myself. So you never know what's going to pop up in the future for us. But yeah, what I was going to say is, since we're on the topic of the defense, who do you guys think leads the team in interceptions? So obviously we have Jesse Bates as the number one contender. I think it was third in the league with 6. So you can see something like that with him. But does that change things now that Justin Simmons is also going to get thrown at? No. Does that change things with how people treat Terrell again? Don't know. Does that possibly suggest that, I don't know, maybe a linebacker can get in on some? Frank Anderson? Just thinking. All right, got another question for you. With the additions on defense, let me read the question. And with returning players from injury, what's your projection for this defense under rookie DC Jimmy Lake with this hybrid 3-4-5-2 defense? In terms of what? What do you want me to project? like where they rank in terms of like points allowed, points per game, yards per game. Let's see. Clark Phillips is another good contender. I don't know how often we'll see him on the field, considering what the depth chart looks like. I thought he'd be the other outside corner, but it looks like Mark Hughes has that. So I don't wish or anything negative to happen to him, but I also want to see more opportunities for Clark Phillips to get on the field because you got D. Alford as the starting nickel, right? So like unless we're playing a lot of dime packages, which the 3-4-5-2 doesn't really suggest that would be the case. So although I do like the idea of having 5 defensive linemen, having 2 linebackers, and just let them roam around. So I don't know, man. It's really interesting to see like who's going to be on the field during what situations. So like AJ's about to explode with a whopping 2 interceptions this season. Woo! Woo! 2. All 2, huh? We'll see. I'd love for him to get targeted more just so he can get talked about again. Because that 2021 season, I don't think that's I don't think that's a fraud season. I don't think that. Like, I think he's got more of those seasons, and that's the reason why we paid him so much. So, I think we have that to look forward to. Whew, man. There's so many good things to be able to talk about right now. But, yeah, going back to here, though, I would say that we have a very unique D-line. And if we're going off of, like, a 5-2 kind of style, some might even suggest 60 linemen. I remember hearing that being rumored about, and just like having 60 linemen, 1 linebacker, just having everyone else roam around. I don't even think that like it's going to be the problem with Jimmy Lake. I think it's just like Jesse Bates is so smart, like Justin Simmons is so smart, Matthew Judon is so smart on the line too. Like as long as you have those as long as you have those guys to kind of like recognize what happened pre-snap against the offense, like I think you'll be fine because they'll be able to make any adjustments. And I don't see like having the DC as a rookie like having all that many issues. But it's good you mentioned it up though. Next one, overall thoughts on how they stack up against the other NFC top NFC defenses. I'm thinking this defense could lead us to pass the division title. I'm thinking conference and Super Bowl defense. It's hard to disagree with you at this point. Like any kind of pessimistic outlook I would have is kind of, I wouldn't say like completely away, but you got to have a sense of, what everyone has been saying, like you have to have that sense of realism to it. But man, to be able to contend against the other defenses. All right, so who are we thinking here? We're thinking of, Dallas would have to come to mind, just because they're normally on the good side of things as far as these rankings go until postseason comes around. And then we have the 49ers, which I don't know. They got a decent squad still. I didn't remember them seeing all those many people leave their defense. It's not like there was Tampa Bay, for example. It's like they have a considerable amount of losses and stuff, and Philly is kind of weird too, where it's like they're still kind of like regrouping on that side of the ball. I think they're looking fine though, so don't really have too many issues with that. Another defense that could be sneaky good. Man, I'm looking back up in the north and seeing like either Detroit or Green Bay maybe. They got some good pass rushing weapons. So you either have them, you have maybe Seattle, and then plus we'll see what the Rams look like as well, because I think they're like a kind of a dark horse in terms of like who they have. So yeah, we're right up, we're right there. Again, barring any injuries, like we're right there. And even if, like, let's say that we have another injury, like if you say in the secondary, like we have some people that we're confident in there. Like anything on the D line, like we have some people that we're confident in there. Linebacking crew, like dude, we have people. Like we have, you know, what Raheem Morris saying, like practice squad is not the term that he wants to use. He wants to say like, hey, this is the extension of our roster, right? So we don't look at it as like the bad people that can't really perform and start. It's like, no, these are like, we have too many good people that we can't fit them in a 53-man roster. And so this is what it looks like for us. So how's it going? I finally remember. I finally realized how to say your name. Georgia, Texas boy. It only took what, freaking 3.5 years? Why did you say anything this entire time? Why was I been getting it wrong all this time, dude? Yeah, that's why we don't have paper championships over here. We got to prove it, right? Yeah, everything I just named, we're gonna have to go through to get to the NFC Championship, right? Like we have the Eagles on the schedule. I don't think we have the Lions. Where we have Seattle, I don't think we have Green Bay again. I think we have the whole of the AFC or NFC East. So that's one. But we also have the AFC West again. So there's that. And just a couple of other stragglers teams. Yeah, like we'll be facing third best in the division, as far as like the NFC and stuff goes. So obviously we've been claimed to have like one of the easiest schedules in the league. But when it comes to playoff time, yeah, we'll absolutely have to run into those people. And I like our chances, especially like offensively. I like our chances. And I also like, our ability to call plays on both sides of the ball. So that like the players that are on the field are going to be smart enough to make adjustments, and that the coaches that are off the field on the sidelines, they can look at it and also learn from the players, and then vice versa. So I do like that that flexibility of learning. So I do see we have someone on the Twitch side of things, so welcome. Who's watching on Twitch? Told me to stalk you. Over or under 24 receptions for Charlie Warner. I think that is way too many receptions. That's way too many targets for Charlie Warner. So I'm definitely hitting the under on that. I don't know who's betting on that, but yeah, I'm definitely hitting the under. His role is really pretty much to set the edge on the run formations. So he's embraced that role. Like him and Ross Dwelly, like they've been great additions to the tight end room, because they do what Arthur Smith was trying to get every other tight end that we had in the room to do, which wasn't going to work because they weren't those type of people. Like they weren't those types of players. So now let's get those types of players on their team, and then like let them do the work, right? And that's why we have, instead of another freaking Michael Pruitt or Johnny Smith, which although he was good for us, but that ain't your role. That's why we have John Fitzpatrick still on the practice squad, and not someone like a receiving tight end again, because that's not what they're meant to do. Like they're not meant to like take away the targets. There's only one football to go around, and we're so excited about all these different people, right? Like I want to be excited for the Drake London, the Kyle Pitts, the Bijan Robinson, Tyler Algier, the Darnell Mooney, the Ray McLeod. Even I don't want, I don't want everybody to be like way too overhyped about someone like him. Not saying that he doesn't deserve it, but come on, man. He's embraced the role, and we should be proud of him for that. And let that be that. All right. Let's take a look at what we got here. All right, so for my Twitch watcher, is there anything else that you want me to be able to adjust on your side of things? Because I have my phone right here, and I have all these different stream manager buttons to press. And I don't know if it would benefit you guys at all on this side of things. So, because this is the one thing that I really wanted to look forward to in the future and experiment with, and maybe like stream some college football games once I practice how to get that set up. I don't have all the time in the world right now, but yeah, just learning about, seeing how we go about these things. Speaking of which, I have, hang on, give me just a second here, because I'm gonna grab something real quick. All right, so a couple weeks ago, I ordered this thing. There's a little shaker. Carry around with me. I like it a lot. However, every time I get something like this, I never take care of it enough. These things need to be cleaned like after every freaking sip. And if you don't do that, then I think the rubber gasket in the lid starts to make it really smelly. So if I open this thing up right now, it is going to smell as bad as the Steelers' offense functions. Yeah, that's right. I needed to grab that just so I can have an excuse to talk about the Steelers right now. So, looking against our first week opponent, is there anything that you guys are actually afraid of? Because the one thing that I've been seeing talked about as far as like how we handled the preseason is that, oh, well, we didn't have our starters on the field, right? And we got to see what Pittsburgh looked like. And when it comes to game time, like some players are, they feel a little bit differently, right? So some people, they want the rest. Other people, they want the reps. So it's like, how do you make sure that everyone's satisfied going into week one? That way they're not super rusty and that they don't play slow. I think it really comes down to, all right, well, our quarterback is coming off an Achilles injury. So let's not give him any unnecessary, snaps and have something go wrong there so that our season isn't ruined. But that being said, I also don't think that our season would be ruined if we got to see a little bit more Penix, right? Like, even if you would say that, like, Penix is out there a little bit longer than you want and possibly overstays his welcome, starts to make some more mistakes, or possibly gets injured in one of those preseason games, like, I would still kind of take that because he has the entire year, in theory, to rest up. So, like, there's that to think about. It's like, would you have sacrificed a little bit more out of Penix? Or would you have sacrificed a little bit more out of, our offensive linemen being out there just so they can understand their assignments for this new offensive scheme? All right, so it's like, it's going to be some more zone run, but there's going to be motion heavy. Like, the way that we've been playing is kind of vanilla as far as like our thing, and we weren't really trying to. It didn't even really seem like we were trying to win any of those games. We were just kind of like playing the situation as it happened. But I don't know. especially when you think about the defense. Like, I want them to be able to feel comfortable, like taking hits to their body, taking those lumps. You know, like maybe not too many, but just to kind of get everything flowing in their motion, because they couldn't hit anybody, you know, or they couldn't go like super hard against their own teammates, right? So it's like you got to think about that stuff. And now you're facing another opponent, and now it's for real. And oh well, now like your body is kind of like having to readjust itself. And it's like I don't want to have to use that as a reason as to why we lost, right? That's such a crummy idea as a fan to have to go through that and explain that to other people. It's like, oh well, they played their preseason starters and we didn't, and that's why we lost in week 1, right? Like I don't want to have that conversation. So I, you know, like you come and saying, like I trust their judgment too. Like these. Our franchise right now, like our front office and stuff, they have not given me a reason to really doubt them anymore. Can anyone else say that? Like, would you agree? Like, I feel comfortable with them. Like, so, yeah, back to Charlie Warner. He opens up an opportunity for Kyle Pitts to be more versatile, lining him up next to him or in the slot. KP and Drake, in my opinion, will benefit them most from groups that are in play. Absolutely. I mean, Kyle Pitts has never stopped smiling. And I'm sure Drake is almost the same way. And it's not just those two either, right? Like, it's not like Darnell Mooney. Like, now he gets a more accurate passer. Still kind of throwing shade at Pittsburgh, but although someone else to think about as far as like their receptions would be Ray McLeod. I don't know how he fits into all this, because we've been definitely seeing a couple of clips with him, but I don't know what they have in store for him. I'm really excited to see him because I think he's one of those players that are like really like they don't have a lot of plays or snaps or like targets that go their way, but when they do, they're going to make them count, right? So, all right. So let's talk about this matchup against Pittsburgh. Our offensive line versus Pittsburgh's defensive line. It's going to be a fun one. This is one of the few battles that I would say like Pittsburgh actually has a chance with. Because offensively, like, dude, they have to make sure that this is a low-scoring game in order for them to compete here. Like, I can't see them, like, going blow for blow with us. You know? And that being said, like, I can see how this is the biggest, like, problem to have on their defense. Right? Because you still have Cam Hayward there. You still have T.J. Watt there. You still have, you know, those other role guys. And they work really well together. Sometimes you might have some problems with that back end, and when you have an experienced quarterback that can kind of recognize when to take those shots, a D-line suddenly doesn't look so scary to me. Now I know that you can be saying like, well, hang on, couldn't you be saying the same thing? Couldn't you be saying the same stuff about our defense, right? Like, if you were ever afraid of our defensive line, we'll just be like, oh, well, we have an experienced quarterback on our side, and then how to take you down. And this is where I say, not quite, because in their secondary, they have guys like Minka Fitzpatrick. Outside of them, there's a bit of a drop-off, wouldn't you say? So we don't really have that kind of drop-off. We have to go like 4 people deep to get to a drop-off. So, I don't know. Plus, if I remember correctly, Ray McLeod was also in Pittsburgh? I think so. So, yeah, over under 14 yards per reception for him. The one thing that I can see being like, all right, well, this might go against his numbers here is any potential like jet sweep, like the touch passes, where it's like he'd have to go like an end around just in front of the quarterback. I think he's got the speed and he's got the athleticism to kind of like get to the corner and make a play. But if anything were to happen, I feel like something like that would go against him, like having this be lower than what it would be. But he is definitely going to be one of our deep threats, right? Like not in the same way that Drake is or even Mooney, but I think he provides a reason to stretch the field. But how often he gets targeted is going to be, kind of up to him. Like how well does he get open, like as a receiver? Because as a straight up like pure athlete, I think he's good, right? But as a receiver, that's where we need to see a little bit more development for him. Pittsburgh front seven will get theirs. We need the O-line to not let them break the game. Absolutely. So that's how it goes. Because if they're too quick for us, then we're just gonna have to resort to other things and just like, all right, well, here's some screen passes or here's some other things to kind of mitigate that a little bit. How's it going, Michael? How's it going, Nathan? Yep, got the perfect shirt for that. So, well, since we have someone else here, how do you guys feel about Jacoby Brissett starting for you guys? This is a Q&A, so never actually determined like who was given the questions and who was answering them. So, if you guys want to participate in that, go ahead. Tabro, how's it going? Our pass defense worries me. Hoping our front puts in a lot of pressure up front. How are you still saying that? I think we already kind of cleared that up last time we talked, man. I see both teams averaging under 4 yards per carry, but will we get through the air? Like, I think they'll be worse because we actually had like one of the best run defenses before Grady Jarrett and David Onyemata eventually went down. But even then, like you got some development from Kentavious Street and even a little bit from Lakel London, like on the back half of the season. So it's like we were still kind of solid at stopping the run. What goes against us though is that we sometimes weren't giving them a good reason to run the ball against us. But yeah, I think it's going to go to our favor a little bit more to have a better number there. Like we might get more than 4 yards per carry, just simply because like at some point in this game, I think that we'll be like a little bit more ahead of them. That is the idea, right? Like forget freaking Arthur Smith saying that he hopes to drop 40 on us, but I think we're actually going to try to drop 40 on them. And be like, all right, well, let's just run out the clock right now because there ain't no way they're coming back from this if we do. Yeah. Well, I asked you how you felt about it. Didn't really think that was a yes or no answer. How's it going, Wallace? Good to see you guys back again. All right. Well, I think since we have enough people here, it's time to do that. Stream's open for anybody that's watching on AFN, on my channel, even on Twitch, I believe. All right. I believe our D-line is going to be shining against this Steelers offensive line. That's kind of been their Achilles heel a little bit. Like, outside of quarterback, but I've been seeing, like, how they're... Man. Their right tackle. Yikes. Like, you guys thought Caleb McGarry was bad in pass protection. Ooh. I think it's Broderick Jones. I think he makes Caleb McGarry look like freaking Jonathan Ogden. So yeah, I think like what I was saying earlier. It's like I think it goes in our favor, the fact that we have not only a younger defensive line, but it's also equally more experienced too. Like you could say for Rukarora, for example, like he's only been playing the position since like maybe junior year of high school, and has just been kind of going off of athleticism ever since. But now he actually has people in the room, right? Like now he has a closer connection to Grady Jarrett than he did before. And now he actually has access to Matthew Judon, someone else that can rush the passer from anywhere on the defensive line. All right, so it's like he's got networking. He's got a good defensive line coaching system to kind of help him with it. And also else, he's got Raheem Morris, who's actually seen other people that have been freakish athletes on the defensive line, like Aaron Donald, for example, right? So it's like you get guys from all over and give him that experience that he really wants. And yeah, he's going to be special. I can already tell, because like just learning it is still a second round pick. Like, that's not the only time we've had that happen too. Like Troy Anderson, second round pick, and was still learning how to be an inside linebacker because he was a quarterback and running back out of Montana State. So it's like, dude, when we take these kind of people, like we want to make sure that they have a role for them. Another example is Avery Williams. Like, yeah, he's kind of like previous regime and stuff, but like cornerback that was more of a returner, but was able to play running back as well. So. The moment I have 5 sacks control, dude. Russell, his biggest problem is that he is gonna really struggle, like stepping up in the pocket. And once he doesn't have access to that, dude, he is a sitting duck. Like, he just doesn't have the explosiveness that I thought he would as a scrambler anymore. So it's like I don't think that he has that part of his game accessible anymore. Which then you kind of consider like, all right, well, they're starting that, they might throw out Justin Fields a little bit more in those packages and maybe use him as a quarterback, maybe not. Dude, I don't know what they want to do with him, but it doesn't really like bother me all that much. So, but yeah, 5 sack is definitely not out of the question. Position do you project will be our first round pick for 2025 already? Well, how does that quarterback position look? I'm just kidding. But no, I gotta look at the draft class a little bit closer as far as like who is going to be available. There's going to be some players that you really want, but it's all about like, first off, anything that happens in free agency before that point, right? Like anybody else that's on a 1-year deal right now that we need to replace because their role just got too big. This is another year of Raheem Morris trying to get his guys. So I think he would value defensive players a little bit more right now. Because now he has his offense of the future, right? Like, that's what Terry's been building. He's been trying to build it for Arthur Smith, but once he had pieces, he didn't really know how to do with them. So have fun with that. Pittsburgh, having Van Jefferson as your wide receiver 2, having Michael Pruitt as your tight end 2, having Cordell Patterson is possibly your running back 1. I don't know. Yeah, it's going to be... I don't know. The only thing that would kind of change things right now for first round picks is, what does Caleb McGarry look like? And the reason I'm asking that is like how long Kirk Cousins is sticking around, because we're going to need a blindside protector, right? And if we don't have access to keep Caleb McGarry, then we're going to have to draft one there. And we're going to have to draft one high, because that's going to be the eventual blindside protector for Michael Penix. So I would kind of look at that position group. I would also kind of look at another corner, because I don't think Avion Terrell is eligible this year. I don't know, he might be, but I also really like the I gotta know if he's a first round worthy draft pick right now too, because we're going to be drafting a little bit later. I can't go for anybody else at the top unless we trade down, which I'm not sure who we would have to do. Who we would have to trade down for? I don't know. Yeah, kind of thinking corner or tackle right now. You can go either or, but it can eventually change over time. Will Arthur Smith run a Johnny Smith jet sweep? Okay, here's the thing. I think he might do one with Justin Fields first. I'm not even kidding. Like, I'm not even saying that as a joke. I think he will legitimately try to run a jet sweep with Justin Fields first before he gets to Johnny Smith. And you know why? Because Johnny Smith is in Miami. It's Michael Pruitt that's in Pittsburgh. Johnny Smith is a Dolphin. So that's my answer to that. But yeah, like, he's definitely gonna throw some funky person out there and to do that. Yeah, like I said, gotta look at the draft board. Gotta look at who we value once the free agency rolls around. Because we might have that problem fixed in free agency, and at that point, it's just like, all right, we'll pick the best person that's left. Mark, how's it going? Good to see you. I'm not putting it past him. I feel like he's drawing some weird inspiration from what New Orleans is doing with Taysom Hill. It's just like, what? I can do that with him. But I don't think Justin's really built like that. So, we'll see. What seed do you see us getting this year? All right, well... Because I can look at the schedule right now, but I also want to figure out the other divisions too. Because I still kind of think Dallas is taking over the NFC East. They just won't really be doing anything in the postseason. For the North, we would have tossed up between Detroit and Green Bay. I'm not gonna say Chicago just yet because I want to feel out their coaching room. But if over time they start to look more and more like a prominent team, then we'll include them. We'll include them in the conversations. Not forgetting about them completely, but that might make the surprise wild card. In the South, we have possibly Tampa Bay. And that's pretty much it. And then we have the West, which could be most likely up to San Francisco again. But who's that second place team if it's going to come down to either Seattle or LA? And I saw some sicko I think it was a Wild that projected that the Cardinals would be in the playoff seeding. I'm not going to go that far. I do see that it is more favorable for them to have Kyler Murray throughout the rest of the season, as opposed to only a couple of games, where he would be a wild card for them too, right? Like seeing them with Marvin Harrison Jr. is exciting. Trey McBride is also going to be a top contender for a really good tight end. I just don't see everything else adding up there. So, I go into a game. I am in California. The only game I could possibly go to is the Chargers game, which I think is in LA. And even then, that's like I have to fly there and then spend a ridiculous amount of money to even try to find a seat inside that place. Geez, SoFi so expensive. So yeah, I'm not going to the game. I'm on the other side of the country. I'm not the person to ask for an extra ticket. But that being said, another aspect, while we're on the topic of this. All right, my over-under right now, 50%. Over-under 50%, home game, week 1, hosting Pittsburgh. What's the fan level looking like? Is it 51% and plus for Atlanta fans showing up? Because this is the first time in a while we've had sold-out season tickets. So we want to make sure that we're showing up for this kind of game, right? Like, especially because of the story behind it, right? Like, especially because it's Arthur Smith. Especially because it's, some of our former players. Like there's that, what's the word? Catharsis? Like, get that feeling out of you. Get that out of your system. Like, say goodbye to the old era and just, like, whoop them, right? And just go to town on the person that caused us this. Like, go ahead and do that, right? So it's like, you're thinking it's 60-40. I think it should be, like, 70-30. Like, I want to make this one feel like a home game, right? Because if that's not the case, then here's my thing, though. It sometimes will be our fault as a total, right? Because we've been seeing reports of years and years now of like other fans like reselling their tickets to not only other Falcons fans but to the opposing team's fans, right? So it's like, I think this is the one year where that's got to stop, right? And this is going to be the example game to showcase. It's like, hey, we're buying into the team, and we're gonna show you week 1. We can't be buying into this team and saying all this other stuff on social media and showing them another side of us. And then when it comes game time, not all of us are here, and the way to kind of support them and show it's like, oh yeah, we're behind you, but then like barely anyone's there. So it's like, that's not the attitude that this fan, that this team, that this offense, this defense deserves anymore. It's like that. Yeah, it shouldn't be there. So we got to make sure that that's established. And it should be because it's against a Steelers team, right? Like, because they travel well, we still have to make sure that our seats are filled. All the more reason as to why we should outnumber them. Like, it shouldn't just be happening to the division rival games. It shouldn't just be happening to, another game where it's like the fans aren't there because they're expecting their team to lose. Like, no, like this one, Steelers don't have the same kind of expectations as we do. Sure, they might have a freaking blood pack to at least to make it like 9-8 and stuff, but I also think that kind of cancels out with Arthur Smith going to 7-10 every single year. I kind of liken it to those clips where it's like, if you've seen someone, they drop a piece of bread with like jelly on it, and it always kind of falls on the side of the jelly. And then there's a shoe that they drop, and it always kind of lands on the sole. And so you kind of like tape the bread with the jelly on the opposite side of the shoe, and just kind of see like, all right, well, which one? What happens here? Because they all seem to break each other's logic. So I think if there's anything else that's going to represent that, it might be Arthur Smith going to break the curse. That will be the eventual, like, hey, we can't stop having winning seasons, even if it costs us like draft picks and, you know, and free agent spots and money and things like that. So yeah, let's go ahead and claim this stadium, like, once and for all. Like, it shouldn't be a question. That's like, all right, well, here's all the people that are here. You look around that entire building, and that should be all Falcons fans. Not all, but you get what I mean. It's like, I shouldn't see a whole section watching from my TV or being like, all right, well, here's all the Steelers fans, and then here's everyone else. Right? Like, no. All right, Christy, you're showing up there. Well, you got an extra ticket because Mark is looking for it. So, whew. But yeah, good to see you. All right. Any final thoughts? Any final questions that either I have or that you have? Because I'm probably just going to keep this one as an hour. That way no one's really going to miss it, and then it's going to be easier to watch back for all the people that are not here right away. Anything else? Because kind of covered, you know, defensive matchups, offense, coaching staff, fan base. Any other week one predictions, like outside of this matchup? How's it going, Lee? They're almost sold out. There should have been a wear red and white because of our black and red blends in there with the colors. Yeah, I can see a problem with having too much black, because I might have that too. Yeah, wear as much red as you can. How about that? All right, cool. Over under Bijan 1,500 all-purpose yards. Really like the way you phrase that one, because I think rushing yards and receiving yards are going to play a major factor in like how much, or how he gets the touches. Again, barring injury. Let me preface all this stuff by saying, barring injury with him, I say that it shouldn't be a problem for him to get 1,500 all-purpose yards. Like, even a bad game, he should have like 80 yards. All right, like, think of the numbers that he had already in his rookie season, and then remember that there were some claims like he didn't get the ball enough in certain areas, or he didn't get the ball at all. Tampa? Like, I don't think that we should have to worry about that problem. So, yeah, like, Kirk's going to feed Bijan. Like, Raheem's going to feed Bijan. Zach Robinson's going to feed Bijan. Bijan's going to get talked about. And he's going to be... he's going to be a steal. I don't even care when you get him in fantasy. Yeah, just talk about fantasy right now just to rub it in our face. All right, who's a team that's not being talked about enough, good or bad? All right, now let me think about this one. Whew. All right. It's really tough because I don't really pay attention to like the general media, so I don't know like if there's more hype for one team or less hype for another. But I'll kind of answer it in two ways. Right? I'll give you what I think is a good team that not enough people are talking about, and I'll give you a bad team that I think not enough people are talking about in a different way. So, a good team, not enough people are talking about. Let's see. I think I'm going to say just kind of thinking about the market, because I know that there's going to be teams that are going to be talked about no matter what, right? Man, kind of tough because everyone else that already has expectations are being talked about, I feel. This is the point where we're at in media in terms of like this sport, where it's like there's so many people that are talking about every team. Man, I think here's the thing. You might disagree with me as far as like them not being talked about enough, but I'm kind of thinking the Chargers. Like, I think Jim Harbaugh took over a lot of attention that the rest of the team isn't getting. I just don't think there's like a strong enough of a media focus on them right now. And here's what we were talking about last week, right? It's like they have a team that is kind of assembled weird, but I also think that they have people that can make it work no matter what. And yeah, they're not going to be like winning the division, but I also think that they can make strides in the future using this season to make a run again and be like, all right, well, we'll be the fifth seed moving forward. So I kind of like those chances. So let me give you that one. And then a kind of a bad team that not enough people are talking about. Man. All right, let me say it like this. I think this team can be talked about, but I don't think they're talked about enough in the sense that, like, oh no, they are not going to be good. And that's New Orleans. So there you have it. That's my answer to that one. Anything else here? Yeah, you got some score predictions here. I saw this one. I saw this one from Christy. I think we'll get more score predictions for next week, just before Sunday. Oh wow, 14 years as a husband, man. Congratulations. Happy anniversary to you, man. Okay, I think you were saying Falcons is like the good team that's not being talked about enough. I think that we like ever since the Judon and Simmons things, like we're kind of being talked about a little bit too much, and it kind of shows off the fact that not enough people have paid attention to everything that we've done in that one, and I think that shouldn't be changed. Like, we are kind of the litmus test as far as like, all right, well, how well have you actually paid attention and like studied and researched our team? And it's like, and you can kind of see it's very clear. Like, all right, well, this is the person that did, and this is the person that didn't. So I like to kind of keep it obvious that way. I'm also going to Cardinal games because it's at $26. Okay, I actually saw this on our Discord. If you want to hop in the Discord, I'm gonna have to drop a link later on. But yeah, there was I don't know what they called it. Let me look this up real quick because I saw this thing. It's kind of like a house that they're gonna have in the stadium. Let me take a look here. I gotta figure out where I found it. Because there's something that you rent out in that stadium where it's going to be like $26,000. Yeah, right here. The Arizona Cardinals have unveiled their new field level luxury casitas with 20 tickets, 10 parking passes, food and alcohol package with you. It's like $26,000. Or if you get more stuff, I guess, it goes up to like $40K. $40K per game, and this is a terrible idea. But that's what the image looks like for me on the screen. There's only like 6 of those that I see in that picture. But I don't know who the heck is thinking about spending $20-something thousand to go to the game and to sit down and watch it on a TV anyways. Like, even if you're a sicko with like a tons of privacy issues and tons of money to just blow away, like, really, the Cardinals, like, you're thinking like that's the area to spend per game? Mind you, that's not like an all-inclusive pass. Yeah, you better hope that they stay at $26 every time you go there, man, because it is ridiculous what they're doing. Marcian, I think Tampa's going to be better than people think. Here's the thing, right? Like, a good amount of people that I've seen have already kind of think that we're the A side to their B side of as far as like division winners, right? So it's like, if you think they're that good, then you're kind of with everyone else, in my opinion. So if you think that they're going to be better than that, then you're also kind of saying that they're going to be better than us. So the Raiders, as far as like a bad team, you think? Yeah, here's the reason. They have Gardner Minshew as their quarterback, and Aiden O'Connell as their backup. And then the conversation starts and stops there. Like, you have Brock Bowers that's over there that I'm excited about, but dude, I have Raiders fans, close friends of mine, that like I almost can't even get them to talk about their own team anymore. Like, I don't hear about them from the Raiders fans that in California that I know of. So I like, there's reasons for that, and you know, let's see. All right, so you're heading over to these ones. Wow, 17 a ticket for a Braves game. All right. Yeah, you're thinking Panthers and Cardinals. Yeah, that's okay. Here's the thing. I kind of think that the Panthers are going to get more than a couple wins. I think they'll get like a maximum of 6, which is really good. But they're going to struggle to get those 6. They're going to have to figure out like where those 6 games are in their season. It better not be against us. I was kind of thinking the Titans, but I also, it's kind of weird for them, man. They're not a team that I want to shout out for any particular reason right now. You know, it's like, we'll just kind of leave them alone for right now. So, well, I just did, so. I think Green Bay is going to start slow again and then start winning towards the end of the season. Yeah. I hope we don't end up in that same way, right? Where it's like, oh, well, you couldn't beat this team and this team and this team, and then they're going to start holding against us. But, hey, it's all about how you finish, right? Yeah, I was thinking Buffalo, but, like, not as far as a good team. We already kind of talked at length about them on last week's show. It's like, yeah, I don't see how everyone is thinking that, like, oh, they're the same team as they have been the last couple of years. Like, no, they've had a lot of departures. So, yeah, I like him as a person too. I kind of like him as a player, but he's kind of like Ryan Fitzpatrick to me in a way. Where it's like, dude, you gotta pick a side. Whether it's like we're talking about you because of your personality, or we're talking about you because you're a good quarterback this time around. I just don't think that he gets enough of that. So, yeah, I don't know about going that far unless they trade up. I don't think they're going to be a top 10 worst team. Like, I don't think they'll get there naturally. I wouldn't be surprised if they pick that high, but I just wouldn't say that right away as far as them being that low this year. They're kind of like in the same way that I think the Chargers are. It's like, yeah, they seem like their roster isn't all that complete, but rather than having like Jim Harbaugh pull the thing for them, it's going to be like Josh Allen. Like, I don't think he's going to be the reason as to why they're picking so low. I think that it's going to be other people that might be having that responsibility or kind of criticism. So, whew. All right. Well, that is going to kind of do it for me. Yeah, sometimes I can just have a quick show. And sometimes that'll be that, right? Like, once we get more people here, I think the conversations will, extend. But if it's just me, like, I just want to be here for an hour and just kind of practice a couple things, and most importantly, figure out how Twitch is as a platform for me to use. Which, if you're the viewer that's still kind of here, take a look at you. Yeah, you're still here. Yeah, let me know if there's anything else I can do on that end to kind of make it a little bit more enjoyable for you. But until then, I'm gonna take a look at what next week is for us on our side of things. Kind of get a little bit of a calf cramp right now, but yeah, I want to be able to have some more people join the conversation, get more of those one-on-ones. Yeah, we're gonna have a variety of we're gonna have a variety of things to focus on this year. So, at least on my end, I've seen reports of a lot of drama that's been going around as far as like, oh, well, AFN has been held back because of X, Y, and Z, or, content creators or having these kind of discussions behind other people's backs and things like that. I just want to be clear, like, dude, I have no involvement in any of that kind of stuff. Like, hey, all I do on my side is I set up the show and I talk with you guys, and that's going to be it. Like, there's nothing else that's a problem, at least for me. But if something does happen where it's like involves our entire name, then that's when I'm gonna kind of like stand up for the rest of the crew, because I don't know, man. let's just focus on being good content creators for y'all. And just kind of keep it at that. You know, put people first mentality. So, all right then. Appreciate you guys tuning in, and see you next week around the same time. If that works out for you, then I'll see you on my channel, see you on Twitch, and of course, see you on AFM. All right, take care.